So I want to talk about how a lot of people may feel that Rakim didn't really flourish in the 90s like he should have. Now, before I go on with this video, this is not to take away anything that Rakim has accomplished because he's in a lot of people's top 10. He influenced your favorite rapper on how to rap. I mean, I'm talking about classic albums from Paid in Full, Follow the Leader, and Let the Rhythm Hit 'Em. And nobody could take away anything that Rakim has accomplished. You ask your favorite rapper right now, he's going to tell you Rakim was an influence. This is focusing mainly on the 90s and so on because the 90s went into the more darker contrast era. And a lot of 80s MCs and a lot of groups from the 80s fell victim to that change. They fell victim to that change to where they actually tried to switch up and sound hard. Like when Run DMC tried to come out with that joint, sounded like Onyx with the West Coast beat. You had a whole lot of people in the 80s just transforming everything that made them what they are. Now there was two artists, however, that escaped that whole KRS-One when he dropped Return of the Boom Bap, and Cool G Rap when he dropped 456. But where did Rakim go wrong? See, what happened with Rakim, not only when Eric B left, but I started seeing the change where Don't Sweat the Technique came out. It was a totally different vibe to it. It sounded more commercial and more upbeat. But it didn't have that rawness. It didn't have that street edge. Now, you can listen to it now, and a lot of people will say they like it. It's gotten appreciation over time because in comparison to what's coming out now, it sounds like gold. But back in the day, at that time, a lot of people weren't really feeling it. I mean, then he had the snow bunnies up in the video. It was like a drastic change a lot of people weren't really ready for. But another thing too that happened was the bar in the 90s got set to another level of the MCs that was coming out. Who do you have coming out? Nas was coming out. He set a bar. Tretch set a bar. Nas came out. Tretch came out. Scarface had came out. Jay-Z had came out. Big L was coming out. Eminem was coming out. Prodigy was coming out. Mobb Deep was coming out. Pac was out. Biggie was out. It was so many people coming out and setting the bar to another level from the 80s. Whereas the reason why that a lot of these rappers from the 90s were able to coexist in these eras, and some even now, is because the bar has lowered. So therefore, they were able to thrive through an extra 20 years. Whereas back then, it was generally impossible. Because what people wanted to hear from Rakim, they got from Nas or they got from AZ. But what happened with Rakim was not only that, but also he has a very recluse personality. He didn't do a lot of interviews. He didn't really collab with a lot of the new artists at that time, aside from Mobb Deep and Hoolim, from what I understand. He didn't really work with a lot of people. If he would have worked with a lot of people, it really would have definitely benefited him. But he has a recluse personality, and he didn't really want to rock with nobody. Plus, if you listen from 92 to 97, he didn't really put out any music. He just laid low. After the breakup with Eric B, he didn't put out anything until 1997 with the 18th Letter, which was a decent album. But considering what was coming out at the time, it got lost in the shuffle. Hip-hop had changed too much for Rakim to come back and really make noise. Now, he had a niche, cliche crowd, the hip-hoppers that wanted to still hear that. But Just like I said earlier, you had all these other MCs out setting the bar to another level. It was cool for people that from that era to want to hear him, but the 18th letter didn't light it on fire for him. And plus, another thing that held Rakim back was he didn't compromise. He didn't cuss on records. He didn't promote the recipe of sex, drugs, and violence like a lot of his peers were doing, or they were jumping on trends. He kept it MCing. And at the same time, it kind of hurt him in a way, because KRS, even though when he dropped Return of the Boom Bap, he still had hard music. It was edgy in a way. When he said, whoop, whoop, that's the sound of the police. Black cop, black cop, black cop, black cop. It was raw. Rakim, I mean, the joints he was putting out, it wasn't really hitting. The Master wasn't really hitting, even though it had decent reviews. That one and the 18th letter, which was okay, it didn't really set it on fire. So he basically got lost in the shuffle in a way. Despite him being the pioneer and despite him being looked upon as a legend, those are some of the main reasons why through the 90s he got lost in the shuffle. And that's not a knock at him. But when you in this game, you gotta move accordingly. He came back at a time where hip-hop changed too much for him. But it's a standstill of who he is, because, man, he dropped 3 straight classics. So nobody can ever take that away from him at all. I wish he would do like a real good comeback album. Like, man, work with these new dope producers. Work with these guys that could give you that lyrical firepower. Can you imagine Rakim over a DJ Muggs beat? Can you imagine that? And the thing with Dre would have worked, but see, it goes back to what I was saying. He wasn't really the compromise, his beliefs, which we go have to do nothing but respect. Because Dre wanted to bring the guns out, and he didn't want to do it, so that was the creative conflict. But he needs somebody, like he get Muggs, he get the Griselda crew, get RZA, get Pete Rock back up there. Man, the world need a real dope Rakim album. He still could deliver. Y'all seen how he rapped over the Cream beat. So, we'll see where it goes. But this is one of the main reasons why Rakim got lost in the shuffle, in my opinion, in the 90s. So, let me know what you guys think. Subscribe, hit the like button. Peace.